Today, we're tackling a tough but important conversation, and that's navigating this new space. And as we explore what the elimination of DEI initiatives means for the aerospace and defense workforce.
More than 20 years, diversity, equity, and inclusion (D&I) programs have helped create opportunities, foster mentorship, and bring more Black technical talent into the aerospace and defense industry. However, with the recent shifts leading to the reduction or elimination of these initiatives, many professionals or aspiring professionals are wondering what's next and how do we continue to thrive in this evolving environment.
And that's exactly what we're going to discuss today. We're here to leave you with an action, ways to continue performing at a high level, fostering community, and ensuring the pipeline for Black technical talent remains strong. But first, let's get into the newsreel for January 2025.
Before we dive into today's discussion, let's take a look at some of the major aerospace and defense events that have shaped January 2025. Iron Dome expansion announced. The U.S. and Israel announced a major expansion of the Iron Dome missile defense system, which increasing its capability to intercept and neutralize threats from drones and hypersonic weapons. This marks a significant leap in missile defense technology and strengthens U.S.-Israeli military collaboration. It also adds a benefit to the U.S. as the new mission is one that covers the continental U.S. Archer Aviation secures $300 million investment for eVTOL development. Archer Aviation, a leader in electrical vertical takeoff and landing aircraft, has secured $300 million in funding to accelerate the deployment of its aircraft for urban air mobility and defense applications. NATO strengthens Arctic surveillance with autonomous drones. In response to increasing military activity in the Arctic, NATO has ramped up the deployment of cold weather autonomous surveillance drones to monitor strategic areas and secure key infrastructure in the region. Rob, what do you think about what's going on here?
I think from an investor standpoint and just from a technical standpoint, that the news about Archer Aviation, $300 million investment, I think that speaks for itself as far as what the industry is looking to do going forward. I think eVTOL and so many other autonomous platforms are here for now and the future. I'm curious to see what policies are going to be rolled out next, because I think that 2025 was supposed to be the year for introducing that from an everyday life standpoint. But I think that might get pushed out to 2026 at this point. But we'll see what policies roll out for this year.
What I get out of it, I think that just the whole autonomous landscape that we talked about last year, particularly on the defense and civilian side, applications are going to be ramped up this year. And maybe to your point, the commercial side is going to be maybe pushed a little further to the right. But, you know, from a defense perspective, it's everything. You know, you got Archer, you got the NATO thing that's happening. All these things are, and even an Iron Dome has a autonomous layer that they want to make sure they include into those missions. So this thing is ramping up. That's going to go forward.
Yeah, and it's really exciting to see that. So, I mean, it's like I said, it's something that is for here, for now, and the future. That's just on the defense side and the commercial side.
Absolutely. Now let's dive into our main topic. The president's executive order on D&I signed earlier in January has officially eliminated federal D&I initiatives in various agencies, including the Department of Defense and NASA. All contractors who do business with the government are also expected to comply, or there will be financial repercussions, i.e. loss of fee, contract termination, degraded ratings, etc. And this has led to a widespread of actions on the future of diversity in STEM fields for corporate workspaces, which could be detrimental.
And similar to what we discussed earlier, we will not spend our time discussing those impacts, but we really wanted to give you some insight and advice for those professionals and aspiring A&D professionals on how to navigate this new space. So let's start.
So our first discussion will be talking about just remaining a high performer, right? Rob, you know, no matter what changes that are happening in the corporate structure, one thing remains true: high performers get recognized. This is your moment to double down on your technical expertise, leadership, and execution. So it's the three things we want to talk about when you're looking at how to become a high performer or stay a high performer, right? You got to continue to master your craft. You need to stay ahead of the curve in your field. You need to get certified. You need to take advantage of any training programs that you may be a part of. And then this might be the opportunity for you to start publishing your work at industry conferences, getting recognized in all types of the technical industry conferences that are out there, and align yourself there. That might be an opportunity for you to be recognized and still master your craft moving forward and bring that back to value to your day job. You also need to seek leadership roles, right? Even if D&I initiatives are fading, your performance and leadership will continue to open the doors, right? And so you got to be proactive about taking and requesting stretch assignments, leading the projects. You got to start claiming and naming the roles that you want to do next, and be looking for that next role now, not necessarily after you got, maybe season in the role you're in. You got to always be looking at your progress for moving that forward. And then the third thing as remaining a high performer is always find your advocates, right? And you got to continue to build that. And that goes back to that session we talked about, building your own personal corporate board of directors, right? While official programs may be disappearing, your network remains invaluable, right? You still need to build a strong professional relationship with mentors and sponsors and colleagues who can advocate for you in those spaces where you may not know. And this is just an opportunity for you to make sure that if you stay at that high performance level, your name will always be in the mouths of people as they think about new roles and your interests and things like that.
Yeah, great points, DeWayne. I absolutely wholeheartedly agree with you. And let's be clear, this isn't just about working harder. It's about really working smarter. So knowing your value, communicating it effectively, and ensuring that your contributions are recognized at every level. I also just want to add to that, really for our listeners, that progress really isn't linear, but it's also cyclical. And in this moment, it's an opportunity for you to recalibrate, really think about your strategy of refinement and what you want to do, and acknowledge the shift and not lose hope throughout this change.
Well, that's a really good point, Rob.
So for our second segment of the show today, we're covering creating your own safe space. So if formal DEI programs are being removed, that doesn't mean that we still can't foster community and mentorship. We need to be intentional about creating our own safe spaces for support and career growth. So that covers three key areas here. So one being internal affinity groups. So even without DEI funding, employees can still organize informal networks, host lunch and learns, discussion groups, and skill sharing. And that not only helps you progress your own personal journey, but also helps recognize and help others as well, because it is a community that you want to build internal and external to your actual W-2 job. The second point I want to make here is one-on-one mentorship. So mentorship, I know for myself, has been paramount to my career progression throughout my career journey. But whether it's official or unofficial, mentorship really matters. So find ways to mentor young engineers and professionals in your company, even if it's just over a coffee or a quick check-in. That will greatly help those new professionals that are starting at your company, but also others that are enthusiasts about the type of work that we do in the A&D industry and what it means to really be part of the STEM field and STEM career track. And then lastly, safe spaces for growth. So you're really utilizing that for future growth. And so identify trusted colleagues, industry peers where you can share challenges that you're taking on in your current job, as well as strategies you want to utilize to overcome them. So virtual safe spaces, LinkedIn groups, or professional meetups can be an excellent way to stay connected and supported.
Yeah, I think that's so important, Rob, as we think about whatever these programs are shrinking, or it does not mean that the need for the community doesn't disappear, right? I think in some crazy way, some folks believe if we eliminate them, then we all become one community, and we know that doesn't naturally happen. But the mentorship and advocacy piece is something and coaching piece is critical for my career. I think about, me and you, right? We didn't meet on a day-to-day job. We're not at the same company. We're not even in the same locale. We were just a part of the same coaching leadership program. And we just connected just because we were in the same spaces and we kind of knew people. And this idea to create this podcast and this space came about from because of our affinity, right? But just because me and you knowing each other and we've been able to talk through, hey, how's the year going? What's happening? What are those things you see? What things you see? What's happening? How you're navigating? Hey, here's what's happening. Because as we know, the A&D space is like 1 degree separation from, or 2 degrees separation from each other, right? Leaders switch companies all the time. People move around all the time. And you never know who you connected with outside of the job, So it's important that you continue to create those spaces for each other for us to be successful.
Yeah, absolutely. And last thing I want to stress here is the importance of self-empowerment. So really reminding our listeners that, your value is not diminished by external circumstances, that you want to make sure that you know your worth and you know what you bring to the table, and you want to make sure that you hold that true throughout, anything that's going on externally.
That's a great point. It's all up to you to be empowered to go do that, because only you are going to be able to take care of you, and you know what you need, and you need to express that accordingly, and just find those advocates and trusted colleagues and people once you to get to that level to really understand how to get yourself engaged and move around, things like that. And then our last segment that we wanted to cover is really just supporting those institutions that are in support in producing the Black technical talent that both Rob and I have been a part of, right? One of the most impactful things that we can do is to continue to invest in the institutions and organizations that have been producing Black technical talent for hundreds of years. This is bigger than any company's D&I program. It is about strengthening the ecosystem that supports Blacks, engineers, scientists, and professionals. Things you can do, right? You can, go back and volunteer at, your local historically Black college or, technical affinity organization like NASI, the Black Engineers, which Rob and I have both been a part of both of those things. If you're an engineer or professional in that space, just getting involved with these organizations that directly impact the pipeline, such as NSB, such as Afrotech as well, and historically Black colleges and universities, it's a part of us giving, and it's a part of what we can do to continue to strengthen our ecosystem, right? The second thing you can do, particularly for folks who have been in the industry for some years, is you can start joining engineering boards and advisory committees that are part of these schools, or even part of both from post-secondary schools or even at the high school level or even in the community, where, many schools and professional organizations have advisory boards that guide curriculum or industry engagement. And your experience can help shape the next generation of the aerospace and defense talent. You can bring, hey, this is where the future is headed in this space. I had the pleasure of sitting on the Tennessee State's Engineering Advisory Board for a few years. And it's always important for us to make sure that we're helping not only these schools stay, quote unquote, ABET certified and when they're doing their certifications, but also let them know, hey, here's the next level of research that you need to be doing, where industry is going, what we need, what problems you're solving, and sharing those, that helps as well. And then last but not least, it's all about sharing your story, right? Representation matters. We know what they see is what they'll be. And it's important for us to speak on panels, to continue to mentor young students, even just having conversations with young professionals. Seeing someone that looks like them in the industry can be an encouragement for them to push forward, right?
Yeah, absolutely, DeWayne. That's a huge point. If the formal corporate structures aren't supporting DEI anymore, we still have the power to make an impact. And not only supporting HBUs, volunteering and mentoring are just, some of the ways that you can help ensure that next generations has the opportunities that they need. And also want to look at for advocating for the long-term visions. So you have to think beyond like the immediate setbacks, focus on how they could impact systemic change through mentorship, community building, and leadership roles. But also, you want to think about, the fight for equity is a marathon, is not a sprint. And the contributions today will shape for opportunities for future generations. Lastly, I just want to add in, even the smallest actions really have that ripple effect on creating a broader impact. So the little things that we do here, I know with this podcast, could just, it can have a ripple effect about, what could happen for major change in the future. So just keep your head up, and I would just say, just keep pushing.
Yeah, well said, Rob. Well said. So what does that leave us? even in a world where these programs are disappearing, we still have control over how we show up, how we support each other, and how we build a future. Right. Some of the key takeaways, right, is continue to be a high performer. Your skills, your leadership, your execution will always set you apart. Create your own safe spaces. Mentorship, networking, and internal support groups still matter. And then support institutions that support us. Get involved with your schools, engineering boards, outside of Black engineers, BEA, just tons of organizations, Afrotech, AIA. It's so many organizations where we can be a part of and participate in that really puts us in from a community standpoint to let folks know who to still garner that interest and add fuel to the fire that some young kid from Memphis, Tennessee is interested and they see go by the Memphis International Airport and they see planes go over their house all the time. I want to wonder, how does that work? And that's the spark, right? And it's up to us to keep that spark alive because our industry needs it. No matter whatever they tell you, it's a very old industry. Very old industry, and we should continue to feed that no matter what folks tell us.
Yeah, absolutely, DeWayne. And as we look into 2025, we're committed to keeping this conversation going. We'll continue to bring you real talk, industry insights, and actionable steps that help you all navigate this new space.
Thank you for being a part of this journey. We've been here before. This is nothing new under the sun. If you go talk to if your mentors, when I started in the mid 90s, when I started, we didn't have ERGs and affinity groups like that, but we still had community. So this is not new. And we should summon that history, our ancestral history, and know how to, because we know how to survive and thrive in any type of environment. Don't forget, we'll be hosting the live broadcast from the 2025 National of Black Engineers National Convention in Chicago at the McCormick Place on March 7th. It's going to be a incredible opportunity to connect and continue